Hello everyone, Marty Jobson here. Welcome to Micro Minute. Now today, underneath my microscope, I thought what I'd show you is some of this stuff here. This is, well, it's what I call goosegrass, but I know it had a lot of common names. So I did a bit of research, asked people on Twitter to see what they thought, and well, this is what I came up with. Its Latin name is Galium aparine, but you may know it as cleavers, clivers, bedstraw, catchweed, sticky weed, sticky bob, sticky buds, sticky back, sticky willow, sticky willy, sticky jack, sticklejack, sticky grass, grip grass, bobby buttons, velcro plant, and this one, I thought this one was rather lovely. Robin run the hedge, and that's clearly a slightly more traditional name. And there's loads of people sending me tweets telling me all the things they call it. But it's a very common plant, as I say. You can find it in a hedgerow all over the place. Let me take a piece out. It tends to like to stick to things, clearly. And this, if I just stick it to myself there, I'm sort of wearing the wrong clothing, but anyway, you can see it just sticks to me. It'll quite happily stick to skin as well. Like that, it's not coming off. Let's take a closer look. So let's go to the desk camera here. So here we have a little bit of our goosegrass. I'm going to call it goosegrass. That's what I grew up calling it. I'm not quite sure. There's presumably some sort of regional variation. So you can see it's got these lovely little thin leaves, and then at this end here you get the tiny little seeds. There's some seeds here and some very, very tiny flowers. Where are they? Oh, there's some on this one here. Look, you can just see the tiny flowers. So it really is a very microscopic specimen. You can feel there's something going on. It's sort of got these hooky things going on. So let's get it under the microscope. I'm going to actually chop up a little bit. Let's take a bit of the stem here, this bit of stem here, like that. Shrink, and I'll cut that there like that. And we don't need that bit. So let's start with a bit of stem. That's going to go under the microscope there. And I'm going to adjust my exposure whilst I'm doing this. Let's set the exposure on that, and let me focus on that. There we go. Ooh, spinning around. So it just looks like a sort of a stick of rock or something, I don't know. Slightly peculiar plant. The stem is actually very, very angular. I'll maybe show you that later. But if I zoom in, you can't really see that much detail. Unless it might help if I did this and put some black behind it. This puts the light illumination at a funny angle on it. But if I zoom in on this stem, you can begin to see that the stem is covered in, or at least along the edge of the stem, there are all these little hooks. Now, there aren't actually that many. I was slightly surprised. I thought there were going to be many more hooks on the stem, because the stem really does feel very sort of hooked. Let's get this in. This is quite difficult to manoeuvre. And I think part of the problem is the hooks get bashed off. And now I am zoomed in quite a long time. This is 50 times magnification. You can start to see individual cells. So all of this, you see down here, you've got this sort of lumpy, bumpy, sort of rippled effect. These are actually individual cells that you're looking at here. And here, there's one of our little hooks. And if I turn off that light, maybe, and turn up the backlight, oops, turned off the backlight, and turn that up, you can see the hook sort of shining up nicely. And you can see they really are very, very sharp. This is very high magnification, and this is something that people forget. If I take this probe here, now this is a needle, this is a sharp needle. If I place this next to this, let me find a better hook. That one's a bit rubbish. I think I've sort of scraped a lot of these off in the process of manipulating and manoeuvring this thing here. Let's have a look at a different section here. Look, this bit looks a bit more like it's got some hooks on it. Look there. Right, you can see some, they're a bit high up. I'll move it down. There. So these hooks here, if I now put my needle in next to them, where are you? Where is the needle head? If I put the needle head in, so there is the head of the needle behind. Can you see that? Okay, so that needle there, this is a sharp needle that will sort of pierce straight into me. I've jabbed myself with this needle many, many times. It's very difficult to actually get it to hold still. But you can see it's completely blunt compared to these hooks. So the hooks are really, really sharp. Let me show you what a leaf looks like. So I'm going to grab a leaf here. This is a big leaf. And pop that on the side here. And if you look along the edge of the leaf there, look at that. Aren't they amazing? Beautiful hooks. So that's the very edge of the leaf. If I turn the leaf on its side, I'm going to zoom back out a bit. You can see this bit. This is a bit tricky. I have to sort of do things with 3 hands at once. So that's the. This is the. Get this straight. This is the underside of the leaf here, and this is the top side of the leaf. So the top of the screen is the top side of the leaf, and the bottom of the screen is the bottom side of the leaf. And if I zoom in, you can see that the top side of the leaf is covered, in loads and loads and loads and loads of these slightly different hooked cells, okay? And they're all pointing, if you can see that, to the, depends on how you're looking at this, to the right of the screen. And the hooks on the underside are all pointing to the left of the screen. So there's something definitely, there are 2 different types of hooks on the surface of sticky grass or cleavers or whatever you want to call it. And if we now look at the flower itself, one of the flowers, one of the things I'm struggling with at the moment is every time I try to pick up this stuff, it just sticks to me, funnily enough. But here's one of the flowers. I'll put a bit of top light on. They have these tiny, tiny little flowers. And there's one which has, there you go. There's the, these are the feet. That's the centre of the flower there. That's the stigma. It's really difficult to hold. I do that and then try and get it in the centre. There we go. Because this thing just wants to wriggle about. So you've got the female stigma there. That's the centre of the flower. And this is where the pollen is. I've looked at pollen before. We've looked at pollen under the scanning electron microscope. That looks fantastic. And it's got these 4 tiny little white petals. And then underneath it begins to develop what's known as the burr. And once this thing's been fertilised, you get the seeds forming, which is where presumably the name, some of its names come from, because you end up with... get off me. You end up with these things forming. And I'm having to position this quite carefully because these things, look at these. Isn't that beautiful? If I turn off the backlight, you can sort of see it quite nicely. So this is this is the burrs. These are the seeds that form, and they are also covered in tiny, tiny little hooks. Although these are the same hooks that are on the surface of the leaf. They're not the same hooks that are on the stem itself. So you've got 2 different types of hooks. And clearly the point of the hooks is to help this thing hang on to anything that it grows up next to so that it climbs up and up and up. Hence, Robin run the hedge, because it runs through the whole hedge. Now, some of the names of this thing are quite interesting. Yeah, that's a lovely bit. You can see all the lovely floret of leaves there. Let me put a white background behind it. Oop, no, too much light. Go black background. Black background's much better. But a lot of the names are to do with its stickiness, but some of them aren't. Cleavers, by the way, to cleave to something is to stick to it. It's as simple as that. So cleavers or clivers, that name comes from the stickiness of it. Goosegrass, apparently geese like to eat this stuff. Hence goosegrass. The slight problem with that is geese eat a lot of different types of grass, and there are several types of goosegrass that are completely different species. So that actually doesn't help one identify a species. The one that's quite interesting as well is bedstraw, because bedstraw comes from the fact that if this stuff grows into lots of it grows itself into a sort of a matted mess if there's a lot of it. And what people used to do is harvest that, dry it, and then you could you could literally stuff a mattress with it because it held together as it dries. Because when it dries, all those, you can see the hooks on these sort of vicious hooks on the stems, hook everything together and keep your bed mattress filling in one place so it doesn't all sort of end up down the bottom of the bed or something. Hence, bed straw. So anyway, there you go. That is goosegrass for you, or cleavers, or clivers, or sticky bob, or whatever you want to call it, or sticky buds, as one person texted me. There we go. Thanks very much for watching. As always, thanks go to Zeiss for helping me with the microscopes. And I also wanted to mention, before we go, the Youth STEM Awards. Now, if you are, or you know, a young person up to the age of 17, I think it is, who is interested in science and doing science, they should check out the Youth STEM Awards, which is a bit like the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme, where there's a gold, a silver and a bronze award that you work towards doing all sorts of interesting things. So, let me just get that one to disappear. As I say, that's all I've got. Go to my YouTube channel. There are loads of these videos now available. Subscribe and I'll see you again. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.